This episode of No Dumb Questions is brought to you by Audible. Go to audible.com/NDQ to get a free audiobook. Hey, I'm Matt. This is No Dumb Questions, and it's Star Wars week. Did you go and see it, buddy? What theme was that?
I don't know. I don't know what that was.
It sounded like one of those Pond 5 knockoff music where it's meant to be almost like a movie so you can use it in your videos. Is that what you were singing?
No, I don't know what I was doing, Matt. I'm just
That was almost Star Wars.
It was bad, man. I'm sorry. I apologize. I derailed.
No,
Let's go ahead. Tell them what we're
not
doing.
Derailed. It stays. Okay, I went on opening night, and then I went again to take notes. You've gone twice as well, right?
Correct. I went to screen it, and then I went with my child. So, yeah, one of the kids.
Okay, so here's why we need to have this conversation with mics on, because as soon as we got done seeing it, we both wanted to say 8 billion things about the movie and Star Wars and, I don't know, maybe the world in general. But once again, No Dumb Questions disrupts the flow of conversation that we have as normal friends, and we put it on hold until we have mics.
Yep, and you took notes the second watching, right? Because that's what I did.
I took diligent notes.
Okay, I am excited about this. I've been wanting to have this conversation. Shall we begin?
I'm going to propose this. I wrote my notes down, obviously, chronologically, because I watched the movie chronologically.
I did the same.
As stuff came to mind, I just wrote it down. So some stuff's kind of big picture, some stuff's just little fun observations. What if we allow ourselves a few deep rabbit trails, but mostly we kind of Ready Player One it and just have fun with the little things we noticed?
Oh yeah, I love that. So we're not gonna stop and just pivot on something unless it's really, really, really worth it. We're gonna keep the conversation moving pretty quickly, right?
Who gets to decide if it's really, really, really worth it?
Do we give each other like one rabbit trail each or two rabbit trails?
I can't get through this in one or two rabbit trails.
You don't think?
We're just going to go organic, and we'll fix it in post.
Let's do it. All right, so let's start chronologically. Do you want to start or do you want me to?
Yes, chronologically. The first thing that happened for me with this movie is I went on opening night. What was the theater experience like for you? Were people into it?
Yeah. Well, I went with some buddies to the 11:40 p.m. showing, and we have this.
As an older gentleman, that had to have been taxing for you.
It was rough. We have a theater here where you can get seats ahead of time. And of course, we went in, just at the one or two previews to go, and there were people sitting in our seats. And it didn't take us long to figure out these people actually did not have tickets. They just snuck in. It's like, so I had to be that guy and be like, can I please have the seat that I paid for? That wasn't cool. But once we got past all that, I got into Star Wars mode with my buddy. It was great. I enjoyed it.
You fancy city people with your assigned seating? That's great.
It's
all
nice.
All of our theaters are more like Southwest Airlines. You just cram into the line and then hope to beat people to the seats that you want.
My second experience was fantastic. There was maybe, a handful of people in the whole theater, so we got the pick of the seats. It was great. Yeah, and I had my son there. I was really happy with that.
Yeah, second time around was packed for us. Did your son like it?
He loved it.
Did he cheer? Did he get into it with the rest of the room? Or no, you said that showing was smaller.
Yeah, it was smaller, but he's not really up on the whole, everything Star Wars. He gets that they're great stories as one-offs, and he knows some of the major characters. Like at one point he was asking me about Yoda doing certain things, and I had to be like, well, Yoda's dead. Remember the last, it was pretty fun.
So have your kids seen all the other episodes?
Everything, yeah, in order. Like in the order, like the prequels and then the other ones. We didn't do some of the modified orders that I've seen on the internet.
Yeah, my kids have as well. And it went, and we did the entire Clone Wars series in between as well. So my kids are well-versed, but they were maybe a little young. I can't blame this on Leonore because I hadn't had this conversation with her yet, but I'd really like to blame this on Leonore. I decided they just needed to be, thrown into the deep end. Hey, the world's tough. Sometimes people get mangled with lightsabers, kids. Just watch this. And for whatever reason, they really connected with Hayden Christensen's unfortunate performance in the prequels. And when he turned bad, oh, my poor sweet children crawled under furniture. They wept. My daughter yelled, no, 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 no. Like just again and again.
When he killed all the little young Jedi?
Oh, no, they were done at that point. They could not have handled that based on we turned it off immediately.
Did you really?
right after Mace Windu got murdered out the window
Oft, yeah.
by Anakin, who was good 1 second ago, and now he murders his employer.
The thing that was hard for my children was the lightsaber duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin, where, he cut off Anakin's legs, which I think, even though it was in the prequels, for my money, that's one of the best lightsaber duels that ever happened.
Goodness, dude.
You don't like it?
It is worse green screen than what I do on my channel. It's horrible.
Dude, but just like
that the whole thing comes down to Obi-Wan being a couple feet up a hill and him saying,
I have
it's
the
over,
high
Anakin.
ground.
I have the high ground. Like, hey, dude, you remember like 2 movies ago when you were dangling in a pit with Darth Maul above you and he had the high ground and then you jumped up and cut him literally in half all in one motion? Like, I don't think the high ground matters that much, man. I thought it was cheeseball and terrible. I did not like it.
Well, whatever, dude. I loved it, and I think we're in a fight.
I like it when we're in fights. It just makes me feel alive.
Well, here, let me fight you to quit all this junk, and let's start with this movie.
But quick disclaimer.
Yeah,
we're talking about everything in this movie, right?
Yeah. What do you mean?
All guns ablazing here. If it's in the movie, we're talking about it. Everything's fair game, correct?
Everything's fair game, and then a couple of rabbit trails. Just let's be respectful of people's time.
Okay, fine. Everybody's on notice. Respectful of people's time. Yeah, that's our thing, man.
Shall I start, or do you want to?
No, you're up. You go.
I thought it was interesting that we started in an evacuation. The rebels have been found out. They are loading the transport ships to get out of Dodge immediately. So we had peril immediately, which I love.
Yeah. Compare that with episode 1, where we have a trade negotiation immediately.
Yeah.
It was a snooze fest. And here, like those Imperial, I don't know what they're called, Star Destroyers, cruisers, the big triangle-shaped wedge things.
Yeah.
Like they start popping up out of hyperspace. And that was
cool
to see them from the surface, too, to see what that would look like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do a really good job of like modeling an atmosphere, I think, which is super important when you're doing this stuff.
So what did you think of Poe's interaction with, is it General Hux? Captain Hux? Got to be General, right?
It's General
Shouldn't
Hux,
it be
yeah.
Admiral?
I thought
Why
it was
isn't he an Admiral? He's on a boat.
I don't know. He's General Hux, but I thought it was pretty good. I mean, Poe is the fighter pilot jock, and I actually work with a bunch of, Apache pilots and stuff like that. And so they have a swagger about them. And once they figure out that they're right, you're an idiot, no matter what your position is. I don't think we should light you on fire and throw you out of this helicopter. Well, I do, idiot. This is what we're going to do. And so I really appreciated that. But I also appreciated the, okay, well, I'll hold for him. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. Did you see that the girl on the comms was Lysa Arryn, the lady who breastfeeds her 10-year-old son in Game of Thrones?
No, I didn't, but I did note that she was on comms because I don't remember many females in the empirical comms. I'm an engineer.
No, it worked.
I'm an engineer.
Everybody knew what you meant.
I don't remember many females in the Imperial fleet in the past. Have they been there at all times? And I just didn't notice
in the past, the Imperial fleet was almost entirely made up of clones.
But this isn't the Imperial fleet.
It's new and different. It's the First Order.
Right. Which,
yeah, we got to talk about that because I'm not sure I'm really tracking with the politics of this new trilogy, but we can get to that. Can we agree that Poe is awesome?
Yeah, we can agree that Poe is awesome, with some reservations. I think he doesn't.
What are your foolhardy reservations?
He doesn't think, and I kind of, having piloted different aircraft, never a spacecraft, but different aircraft, I know that you don't just sit in and instantly do like the Avatar hair meld thing with the craft that you're in, like they do on Avatar. They hair meld with the horses.
Oh, yeah. Reference understood.
I don't like the fact that he gets in a craft and it's like, oh, well, I am the resident deity now that I am in a craft. I can use my radio flyer wagon to destroy your Battlestar now, or whatever it is. I don't like that.
Cool. I do like that.
No, I don't.
I like the way this movie and movies of late are finding more ways to glorify video game players and hackers.
What?
It used to be that was always like nerd guy was the Mr. Computer Man with his dumb glasses and the tape in the middle. And now it's a pretty stylish position. And just all the shots that weren't really necessary of him on the joystick and the comms and everything. And it's like, oh, he's playing a video game. Like that resonates with how things are now because everybody plays video games. So I thought it was fun the way they gave us that look at it. And then I thought it was fun that they made him do things that are just so fast and zippy and inspiring. I mean, the way he closed the foils and then just hit the gas right up to the front of that dreadnought and then hits the brakes and all of a sudden he's like whipping around. I love stuff like that.
I have specific things I want to say about the dreadnought interaction.
Fire away.
I really loved the, I'm here to talk to General Hux. Can he hear me? Or General Hux saying, can he hear me? I thought that was really well-written comedy.
Bad for Hux's character because he's like number 3 bad guy and it makes him seem like sniveling and inept, but really fun for Poe's character and for fan service.
No, I thought it was clever because, it's like the bad guys aren't allowed to ever have fun, but that was like a moment. I still remember a long time ago when Bill Clinton was on TV when I was younger and he gave some kind of phone number over the air. He said something. He's like, again, that number is 1-800. And then he said it. And then there was this moment where he goes, wait a second. I just got note off screen. That is a 10-digit number. However, it will work even though phone numbers are 9 digits. I remember him correcting that and having that little human moment.
Yeah.
And it made it real to me. Like, oh, wow, the president's just a human. And so that's what this did for me. It's like, oh, okay, he's a baddie, but whatever. He's trying to figure stuff out. I thought it was clever writing myself.
Okay. I liked it too. I had fun with it.
The dreadnought.
Okay, I tell you who was a more impressive commander of a ship was the guy running that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a good performance. I wanted to see more of that guy.
And I really liked that the lighting was red, so you felt like you were in a submarine with that guy.
Yeah. And I'm also glad the movie just started with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because it's called Star Wars, but a lot of times it turns out to be space wizards. And I like the space wizards, but I want Star Wars.
So
that's what I signed up for. I want lasers and ships and stuff.
And I like the fact that, he's running for the dreadnought. He's insane. And then the guy was like, no, we need to scramble our fighters. He's clearing all of our
deck cannons.
Oh, deck cannons. That was it. That was clever. And you know why that's clever? Because if you have a rotating weapon, if you can get in on it close, then it can't slew quick enough to get you because your Sigma knot is too fast. Your rotational velocity is too fast.
Can I try saying that a different way?
Yeah.
So, like, if you fly in real close to something, and there are guns on there, it can't spin around as fast as you can move because you can fly real fast, and it's hard for them to spin and shoot you.
Same thing. But the thing is, like, the physics works, and I liked it, and that tickled a part of my brain. I was like, thanks. Thanks for giving me that.
The physics on how long it took to fly toward the last deck cannon didn't work for me. That was a long time there. And then BB-8 is working on fixing the X-Wing this guy's a ninja, but then he just gets shot on like the 5th attempt, I guess. Okay. I don't know. The plot needed that to happen to give us drama. But then BB-8, who I think we can agree is adorable as chunks of metal go, he starts like probing stuff and everything, and there are shocks and everything, and he's just fixing it from inside. This brings me back to something that I've had a problem with all of the Star Wars movies, and that is that the droids are too important.
I agree. I agree with you, but then you have C-3PO, which I hate. I was like, what?
Makes me tired.
It's like, hey, here's the deal. We have to evacuate the planet. We have to go as quick as possible. We're low on fuel. You know what we need? More useless weight so that the impulse of our engines underperform. Let's make sure to throw C-3PO on there. God,
definitely. So he can complain and snivel. If it weren't for Jar Jar Binks, he would be the most reviled character. Like, that guy should pray to the Star Wars gods every day and thank them for Jar Jar Binks.
And we are in agreement that Supreme Leader Snoke's is it Snoke? It's Snoke, right? We are in agreement that Supreme Leader Snoke is just a really old Jar Jar Binks, right? We agree on that?
I like that theory. I think if you took a clean swipe through those Jar Jar Binks ear flaps, it would cauterize neatly and just look like flesh. You'd never know they were there. That checks out to me.
Okay, so the dreadnought scene, you dig it, right?
I really did. It seems like if you can master like light speed travel, you could find a way to make bombers that go faster. That was agonizing. It was like the sloth in Zootopia. Put more engines on them.
It felt like World War II. And that's what it was supposed to do, right?
That's what all of this is supposed to do.
Right. That's exactly what it felt like. But I really had a problem with, I forget her. It was basically Rose's sister who was dropping the bombs on the dreadnought. I had a problem with, her having to kick the thing and get the remote controller and all that. I didn't like that. I was like, okay, I get it. She's going to blow it up. We know this. Just get me through this. I did enjoy seeing the bombs drop, but it made me think about the physics of gravity going on there. I was like, okay, why are the bombs being dropped? What's pulling them down? If it's just the gravity of the dreadnought pulling on these objects, it would be way less gravity, and they drop really slow. So
it's possible. That dreadnought was huge.
I have to admit, there's a part of my brain, because I try so hard to understand orbital mechanics. Like, I've taken classes on it, and it's really important for me to get that right. That's a thing that haunts me the whole movie.
It's really fun that's what you get hung up on, because there's stuff that I got hung up on in this as well, but it's not so much orbital mechanics. It's political philosophy and ideology. We'll get into it later.
Okay.
So here's the thing, though. That ship was gigantic.
Yeah.
Those X-Wings are fast, and he's flying. This is not like an aircraft carrier in space. This is like a city in space.
Well, come on, baddies. Can we make a ship that doesn't blow up everything if you blow up one little circle on it? Come on.
Yeah, I literally have that note written down right here. And quit making sweet spots is my note. And they literally use the phrase sweet spot. Why would you have that?
Yeah.
Or make a fake one that's nothing but armor, that's going to draw all the fire, and while everybody's wasting time on that, you just shoot everybody down. Rogue One does not fully account for it, just because we have one answer regarding the Death Star. I have a problem with that as well. What do you think the complement is on a ship like that?
What do you mean the complement?
The complement, the number of people on board?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not up on my naval lingo.
I don't know. Maybe that's not the right word. I don't know. I always thought that was the right word, but maybe I'm...
I looked it up. It was like...
How many people do you think were on that ship?
12,000 or something? I don't know.
You were able to Google that?
Yeah, it's Googleable. They said it was, I want to say, 7 kilometers long. I know that's how long it was because where I work, we have 7 kilometers worth of test space. And so, yeah, 7 kilometers long. I don't know how many people there were, but you can Google it. It's like Wikipedia or something like that.
12,000 people.
No, look it up. Don't quote me.
How do you get that many people to sign up for that job?
I was thinking about that as well, because, this is not the Empire. This is the First Order, which is like the thing we were making in secret while the Empire was crumbling. And I did think about the fact that these people were away from their families. And so, like, what is their motivation?
I don't know. We have to come back to that, because as the plot goes along, I have more gripes/questions with what anybody's motivation in this whole thing is. What I do know is this, that like 12,000 people got murdered by bombs. And I realize it's war and murdered isn't the right word, but that is so much death in that opening sequence. Like, so long, suckers.
Yeah.
Thanks for playing.
Yeah, high fives all around.
Yeah, but I like that then we cut to Leia and we see, the screen that indicates the casualties. This was expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those X-Wings, they can't be cheap.
And so Poe gets reprimanded after that, blah, blah, blah. And then we go see Luke, right? Isn't that what happens next?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so now we're on the island, and we see Luke, and, Rey's sitting there trying to, like, get him to teach her stuff, and he says something that I really like. He says, okay, what am I going to do? Show up with a laser sword and square off against the entire First Order?
Oh, you mean like he ended up doing later?
Yeah, exactly. But I love the foreshadowing. It was straight through the front door. I mean, as soon as he said it, you're like, that's going to happen. You know what I mean?
And also, I love that they made fun of the lightsaber.
Yeah, and they called it a laser sword.
There are a lot of hang a lantern moments in this script.
What does that mean?
Where that means you wink, wink, nod, nod to the audience. Like, these characters think they're talking about something, but this is a message of understanding from the screenwriter to the people who are watching it.
And I would love it if they would do that about the bad guys' weapons. Like, if they're in a meeting And at some point, one of the baddies looks at the. I keep saying baddies. I hope you're okay with that.
It's working great for me.
He looks at the other guy and be like, you know what? What if we don't build a weak spot into this weapon? You know, if we just.
And then maybe everybody else laughs at him and they decide to table it. We'll get to that later. That's a great idea. No, thank you.
I would forgive a lot of past sins in this series if they would do something like that. I'd be like,
I would too.
Yeah.
And I forgive a lot of past lightsaber abuses just because of what this movie did. There was no lightsaber duel in this movie.
That's not true.
When was there a lightsaber duel?
Well, there was. Well, at the end, you could say that. What do you mean? There's no
Don't
lightsaber
your lightsabers
duel?
have to touch for it to be a lightsaber duel? I don't understand why you're laughing. Explain the joke.
I mean, there's this one point where Rey and Emo Kid get back to back and start fighting all the Reddies.
They don't fight each other. It's not a lightsaber duel. That's a lightsaber team combat against people with electric red shock knives.
Whips.
And also whips.
Let's get back to Luke, man. Let's get back to Luke.
Yeah, let's do.
Okay, so what's the deal with
do you like his reluctant? Let me just put it this way. Do you like what they did with Luke Skywalker in this movie?
I do. He's old. He's tired. He wants to die in peace. Yeah, I like it. You?
What do you think of the gripes that you hear from everybody? That took the character in the wrong direction.
Oh, I didn't read any of that.
Luke looks sniveling and weak, and that he plays a thin role, but he's the main character and the hero of all of Star Wars.
Well, that's the point. I mean, Luke has always never thought he was good enough until he has to rise to the occasion. That's who he is. And the fact that he doesn't want to help and he's reluctant and scared and confused, I mean, that's Luke Skywalker.
I don't think Luke was ever that impressive at all.
That's the point.
He was never fully trained in the Force. I mean, to call him a Jedi Master in the sense of what we learn about what a Jedi Master is from the prequels, he doesn't come close. I mean, he wouldn't even make it into that boardroom. He was terrible at it. He was good at whining about power converters and stuff, but he wasn't great with the lightsaber. He didn't do like cool Force moves. You remember how hard he had to work to make the lightsaber come out of the snow when he needed to kill that Yeti thing?
I do.
On Hoth?
I do.
Like, that was really hard for him. He wasn't that much better at it than I am. And I can't do it at all.
Well, one thing I thought the movie did a really good job of, and you mentioned this before, in one of the prequels, they were on that elevator and Obi-Wan and Anakin were like,
Anakin, do you remember that time we fell into that nest of Gundoks? Haha, I do, Master. That was so interesting. It proves we're friends and have history. That it does.
And so in the last episode, when Poe just was, in a fighter and just took out all those help me, Matt. I'm drawing a blank.
What was he shooting at? TIE fighters?
Yeah, thank you. In the movie last time, when Poe just gets in the fighter and just takes out all the TIE fighters, you just get to see it all. And there's none of this. Yeah. Let me explain this. And so when Rey shows up, hands him the lightsaber, it's like, oh man, that's his lightsaber. And then you have all these things in your mind about like when he's on the Millennium Falcon and he's fighting that little drone thing. And then, when he pulls it in Hoth, and then he just throws it over his shoulder. That said so much without having to say anything.
Yes.
I love that. And that
Show
told
it,
me.
Don't say it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was great.
I agree. And then the fact that he didn't just relent the next moment. Like a lot of times in these movies, you'll have what is called a minute 17 moment. I don't know if it's actually what it's called. It's what I call it. Around minute 17 of most scripts that track a hero's journey, you will have a moment where the unsuspecting hero has been confronted with an opportunity that will change the hero's life, and they resist it at first, but then they sign up, and that is the moment at which you come to understand what the movie is about and where the hero is headed. And oftentimes that is insultingly and painstakingly spelled out for main characters. And I really liked that at the minute 17 moment of this movie, we found out, Rey's going to be stuck on this planet for a long time. We're not going to get a Survivor training montage where they pose and do cool things, and then all of a sudden she's a forced ninja wizard. Like, this is going to be hard earned, and most of this story is going to be about her trying to convince an unwilling teacher to teach her, and that's interesting.
It was also at this point in the movie when it started bouncing back and forth across several storylines very quickly.
Well, 3, right? 3 storylines?
Yeah. And so I want to talk about when Kylo went up to talk to Snoke, and it occurred to me, it's like, oh man, these guys really suck. They're not fun at all. There's not going to be any parties at the Empire. There's not going to be any like morale, welfare type meetings. I mean, they're just...
Why would you want to work there? The guy has a burned monster face.
But Snoke, calls him out for the helmet. And so I want to understand what they said something when he took off the helmet and smashed it. Like, I think that was a departure. That was a moment that's like, I am not Darth Vader number 2.
Right.
And
it was hanging a lantern too.
What do you mean?
Snoke's line was wonderful. The take that ridiculous thing off. Like, it was just, oh, that's good. It is ridiculous. Thank you for making fun of it. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we heard your fan feedback and had this Emperor of Evil get on your side.
Yeah. It was like, hey, I'm not Darth Vader number 2. And I really don't like him, which is the point. But it's not like Darth Vader, like, oh my gosh, it's Darth Vader. It's like, I don't like this clumsy little guy. So I think there's a lot of room to develop that evil character, especially now that he's in control at the end of this movie. But anyway.
Did you like Snoke as a bad guy, or was he boring to you?
I thought he was pretty bad. And, well, I want to talk about how he interacted with Rey later, but he was a good bad guy, I thought. So
yeah, I was surprised they dispensed with him so quickly as well.
I want to talk about how
Andy
they did that
Serkis is really good
What
in that motion capture, whatever it is. That's the same guy who was Gollum, and well, he's the arms dealer in whatever it's called, Wakanda.
The same guy that played Schmeagol was
Avengers.
Snoke?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's him. He's the guy who does all of that kind of stuff, and he's just amazing at it.
Wow.
I feel like he might have been in Pan's Labyrinth too.
Which was
I think
excellent.
he was creepy monster thing in Pan's Labyrinth.
With the eyes on the hands?
I think that was him.
Oh, wow.
Can't guarantee that.
Dang.
So he's come so far. Like, it used to be the kind of thing where he was just a body actor, and the guy's he does amazing things with his voice. And Snoke was interesting, and for as hideous as he was, like, kind of oddly charismatic.
Who is Snoke?
So confident and smooth.
Who is Snoke?
I have no idea. I thought we established it was a de-eared Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, but I mean, in the last episode, we were like, oh man, this Snoke dude is the dude. Like, he's worse than the Emperor, and they call him the Supreme Leader. I'm like, is he the guy that's been like the puppet master the whole time? I just didn't know it.
Shadow government, maybe.
And then you show up and he's just like this guy. He's like, oh wait, he was scarier as the hologram. And so,
yeah, I liked his cool little lightning blast, sit down and shut up move too. It wasn't like the whole laugh and cackle and spray lightning. It was just like flick of the wrist is more than enough.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was a cool moment.
That was cool.
Yeah, I liked him, and I was really interested to see that unfold more, so I was kind of disappointed that he got disemboweled.
It was more than that. So
yeah.
we agree that Kylo Ren crushing his helmet was a nod towards the audience.
A nod toward the audience, and yet another place. I mean, we see Luke dispense with his iconic thing. Now we see Darth Vader too dispense with his iconic thing. So what is this going to be moving forward? That seems to be one of the themes of this whole movie, is just burn down the old stuff and let's see what happens now.
I'm sorry, dude. You're having this really big moment, and I just read my next note. I'm just going to read it.
Wasn't that big a moment.
I'm just going to read my next note to you, and I'm just going to let you react to it. Okay, you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. Yep.
I used my brain to write this down in my
good job.
my phone. Milks the boob monster. Don't tell me you didn't have a reaction there. What? Just read your note. What did you write when he did that?
It says mustache mess ? Can relate .
I thought that was pretty good. I was like, oh man, golly.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, and it wasn't just silly and funny. It communicated something. You want this life? Stay here as long as you want. This is how we do things here.
We milk boob monsters and we stab
green
fish with whiskers.
Mammary slime. Yeah, that's what we do.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
Little frog nuns clean after us.
Yeah. I think it was at this point we went back, and this is when Poe got demoted.
Mm-hmm.
And
rightfully so.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem. And I had another note down here somewhere. The problem with having an army of rebels is that you never know when they're going to rebel against you. Like, that's a direct order. I don't know if you know this, but we're the rebels.
I think the best line in Rogue One, which I didn't think was great, only appeared in the trailer when Jyn Erso has that, well, I'm a rebel. It's what I do. I rebel line or whatever it was. Yeah, that is a tricky part about the whole rebellion thing, which still, we're going to get to what are the motivations of these two teams in just a little bit. But did you like when you figured out that, okay, we're settling in here, the big plot structure of this is going to be there is a low speed chase in space that is going to take up the majority of this film. Did that intrigue you? Did that slow the pace? Did it make it feel boring for you?
I went to physics with my head. And so I was like, okay, wow, we have to use, first of all, we're in space. So if you burn your engines, you are going to accelerate. And then when you stop burning your engines, you're going to maintain a certain velocity.
Right.
So what this means is this is not a chase like we would think of on the interstate where two cars are going 100 miles an hour. This is an accelerative chase, meaning the impulse power of the big ship was exactly the same. Well, not the impulse power. Basically, the acceleration rate of the baddies was the exact same acceleration rate as the goodies, which meant they were perfectly matched. And so if
I don't know if I can work with goodies.
No, can't do that. What are we going to say? The rebels. Okay, I'll just go to the First Order and the rebels. How about that? So
whatever you think is best.
So to me, I was like, you know what? If I am the First Order and I am giving chase, we're obviously all accelerating at the same rate. All I have to do is ditch 50 tons, and then magically I'm going to be able to catch them. So,
but I don't think they really cared. I think they felt like we can ride this out. It's kind of fun, taking in the moment.
I'm just telling you that's where my brain went.
We don't have to throw any of our stuff into space.
It was basically a space siege, is what it was, which was cool.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very well said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with a siege, there is a degree of inevitability. And historically, we know that because of how human psychology is, if there's a siege and you don't lay down your arms and you hold out, it's going to be a lot worse for you. When the people laying siege get through the walls, it tends to be really, really violent when they get all that pent-up anger and frustration over how long you held out. And it felt like that's what was coming. Like, this is going to be bad when fuel is exhausted and this distance is closed. But I thought it was a clever way to set up an artificial, contrived timetable to give us a chance to explore some other stuff.
Yeah, you could see that there was a story arc that was going to play out at a certain time. I did like that. And I also like the fact that, in this next sequence, which is where they blow up part of the ship and Leia goes out and does her space thing, I like the fact that Kylo flies. I like that he gets in his own little, it was like a special red TIE fighter kind of thing.
Yeah, it was cooler.
Yeah, I like the fact that he gets out there and he's actually fighting. I like the fact that the First Order does that. And I know Darth Vader did that as well, but the question is, what did you think about Leia floating in space after they blow up whatever? Kylo didn't take the shot and kill his mom.
Yeah.
So there's that glimmer of
One of the things that bothered me back when Darth Vader was flying around in space and Obi-Wan and Luke, it's like, those are valuable assets. You're leveling the playing field with some non-force using pilot when you get into that ship. I don't like this strategically. But now that I know that if you get blasted out into the void of space through a space explosion, that you can just magically angel fly back to a ship and you're okay. Like, maybe it wasn't such a big risk to take after all.
Yeah.
And if you're not reading between the lines there, I'll spell it out a little more. I thought it was dumb.
I did too.
I did not like magic flying space angel Leia.
The first time I saw this, and this is a recurring thing, this is the last time I will say this, okay?
Oh, okay. Is it baddies or goodies?
No, I know that was bad. When Leia was floating in space, there are these ice particles that are floating around her hand.
Okay.
And she's spinning. And so when they do the close-in shot of her hand, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be thinking she's about to use the Force. And I think this is the first time Leia ever uses the Force, right?
Other than the sense crap.
Yeah. So as they do the close-in shot of her hand, I'm trying to feel things, and then I'm like, oh, wow, look, there's ice crystals floating right by her hand. They must have come off her body. Wait a second. Why are they right by her hand if she's spinning? That means they're flying in a non-linear trajectory. They're also spinning. This is a curse I have, dude. This is... Yeah, it's Star Wars.
I would like to think that anybody who's into anything has the same curse, just somewhere else.
Okay, good. I won't talk about that anymore, but it is a curse.
No, talk about it more.
But when she...
I want that perspective. That's fun. And I'm guessing people listening in want that perspective.
I don't know.
What
I was completely cool with her
floating. Have you seen Guardians of the
back.
Galaxy 2 yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so now I need to warn people that I'm going to ruin that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At the end of that, when Yondu, who is absolutely awesome as a character, dies by being space frozen to death, self-sacrificially, that's how you kill a character, brother. You send them into space, and then they space freeze, and then they're dead after that, and they're not coming back, and there's no magic, and it's just okay because people die, and you just have to live with that sometimes. That is so what I wanted. I was like, oh, give her the Yondu death. Like, let her just freeze out, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, people die, like nothing special. She was in a bridge. It got shot with some stuff. She got sucked into space and then died. Well, it's war. It's weird how that happens, isn't it? I really just wanted that to be it.
And that's
Nothing
how we
more,
lose Carrie
no
Fisher.
ceremony.
That's what I was sitting there waiting for her to die the whole movie.
Isn't it weird that she didn't?
Yeah. I'm
Like that in itself is a twist.
It is. And I feel like they did that on purpose. And I didn't know what I was watching of her that was real and what was CGI, or if there was any CGI. Do you know?
Well, I guess that means they did a good job if they used some.
Yeah, it does mean that.
I know that they used a rubber dummy of her in the scene where she was in a coma and they were making the plan, Poe and Rose and Finn.
Yeah?
Yeah, but that's all that I've heard about it. So I don't know.
But
okay, so she gets exploded.
But you know who else
And
died in
then-
that?
Admiral Akbar.
Yeah, he did. And
What the heck?
I know, and he never got promoted. He's been an admiral the whole time, man.
Forever. Like, not rear admiral. Not, I guess the opposite is front admiral. Like, just admiral forever. That guy has worked so hard.
I know.
Selflessly.
And I was like, how did you just hand wave kill Admiral Akbar? And
that did not work for me, man. Let me tell you how it should have worked. Okay, first of all, we get introduced to a new breed of alien in the Star Wars universe, and this breed of alien is called just like a person, except their hair is purple.
yeah, exactly.
What the heck is that?
So they did a great job with Vice
Can she
Admiral.
intermarry? Can she breed and produce human offspring with not purple-haired humans? How does it work? Does she have the same internal organs? I don't know. Like, you just dyed her hair purple. You took Laura Dern and you dyed her hair purple. That was insufficient for me. The dude who should have been standing there on that bridge giving that terrible speech about hope and stuff to try and redeem what went wrong with the hope speech in Rogue One should have been Admiral Roger Q. Akbar. Not sure on the first name. And then what should have happened is he should have been the one to lay down his life because he's awesome and a fan favorite. Not,
No.
I squeezed the pus out of the tongue of a triceratops one time, lady. I did not. That was dumb.
You're absolutely wrong about this.
Okay, I'm not only wrong, but I'm angry. Listen to me.
Leia.
I'm an angry Star Wars fan.
Okay, Vice Admiral Holdo, they did an excellent job with her character. I hated her instantly. Everyone can relate to the boss that is just high enough over you that keeps you from doing what you want to do. Everybody can relate to that.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Yes.
this is good. They're doing this right. I hate her.
You hated her?
Yeah.
I did not have that emotion at all.
What? You just
I
thought she was
baffled
stupid.
by her purple hair and her terrible speech. I just thought, like, that's how you're going to rally your light spark, rebellion, hope, future. Like, are you unaware of the circumstances you're dealing with?
It
Like,
worked. It worked
she
for
just
me.
seemed inept and bad to me.
And she
Okay.
came back around, and I appreciated that. And well, let's just jump forward. Do you want to jump forward to where she rams it?
Well, yeah, and then we'll come back to the casino. But why wouldn't she tell anybody the plan? Is it because she thought maybe they were being tracked by spying or something?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because you would think if you wanted to avoid, say, a space mutiny, you might want to just notify some of the feistier members of the team. Like, obviously, Poe is not the problem. Like, tell him the plan and then put him in the brig. I don't know what you want to do, but not telling him was dumb leadership.
Yeah, but Leia should have rammed the destroyer. That's how she should have went out.
Maybe hand in hand with Admiral Robert Q. Akbar, possibly kissing. That would have been a good send-off for both of them.
Leia should have been at the controls. She should have been on the bridge, and she should have just totally decimated. Because are we going to agree that that was the single best point of editing in the entire movie? Was when
that might be my favorite moment in any of the Star Wars films visually.
It was excellent. Well, and it wasn't the visual cues; it was the audible cues. Everything.
It was all of it.
Everything just went silent.
What did the room do when that happened?
Well, so I got to watch it twice. The first time, I was like, "What the heck?"
Did you mutter that? You sounded like Trent there.
Dale Jr. No, I just thought to myself, that is so stinking clever. Why haven't we just light sped through things in the past?
That was my first thought as well.
Why? And it's not that. It's like, why haven't I thought of that? You know, I was a little upset that I hadn't thought of that. And then watching it the second time, I knew it was coming. And so I didn't even watch the screen when it happened. I just looked at everyone else. We saw it in 3D the second time. Did you see it in 3D?
No, we don't do that in Wyoming. We have 2 escalators.
It was really good in 3D because it wasn't over the top like I'm trying to be 3D. It was just enough to make it feel a little more real. It was well done in 3D. So
wow, that's the first positive thing I've heard about 3D since Avatar. I like 3D.
Avatar wasn't that great in 3D because they always do that little spoof like, hey, you're watching a 3D movie. I'm going to hit this rubber bouncy ball towards your face. No, they didn't do any of that. It was just like, well done. They kept it professional. Okay. However,
but what did the room do?
Everyone, of course, gasped. I looked at my son. He was immediately to my left, and I just took that moment in. I was like, this is a big moment in his life. And so I turned around and I looked at him, and his mouth just slightly opened up just a little bit. And then when the sound came back, he turned and he looked me square in the eye, and he was like, yes. He just did the head shake, a vertical up and down.
Yeah.
Yes. And then
was that sound editing on that explosion not fantastic?
It was great. And then he put his fist out and we fist bumped. And I was like, that was a good dad moment. I enjoyed that. So
yeah, both of my little girls, they were flanking me. Princess Leia Buns was on my lap. My other little girl, I had my arm around her, and they both gave me the that did not just happen face at the same time. And they're made of the same DNA, so that face looks the same on both of them. Mm-hmm. It was really fun. I treasure that.
Did Admiral Holdo make up for her past sins at that point to you?
Yeah, okay, mostly. Here's my problem with that. And my problem with it is diminished since your previous remark that you had never thought about Lightspeed Kamikaze. Truth to be told, you have forced me to admit that, now that you mention it, neither have I. But you're going to be just as dead either way, Admiral. So if you could just think of that before they shoot down all the transports and murder your friends, that would be helpful.
Well, I mean, some of the smaller ships can light speed, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, sure.
Well, why aren't light speed kamikazes a thing all the time? Anyway, something to think about.
Okay, but we need to backtrack a little bit, though, because there's this whole side quest in the middle, and I'm pretty conflicted on this.
We're talking about the casino?
Yeah, so...
Before you go there, since it's a casino and all, can we do an ad?
Casino, money. I see what you did. Yes, ad time. Trent needs to be paid. The correct response there is Dale Jr.
Dale Jr.
This episode of No Dumb Questions is brought to you by Audible.
I love Audible, dude.
Yeah, I know. You're a huge fan. Why do you love Audible?
Because I get smart while I'm driving in the car. And I just recently listened to a book called Seven Eves. It's a really, really long book. A lot of people say it's too long. But for me, it was great because there's orbital mechanics, like whole chapters filled with orbital mechanics.
And as we've established, that is the first thing you look for in any work of fiction.
I enjoy it. It's really good. I mean, I don't think it's great for you, but for me, it was perfect. You would probably have a humanities to recommend, right?
Yeah. I was looking at a book on my shelf the other day that I really liked. It's a Broadway musical that did really well, but did you ever read Wicked?
Yeah. I didn't read it, but I've been to the show.
The show is a blast. The music's really fun and everything, but the book is good.
Really?
There's a ton more going on there, and there's a sequel to the book as well, which I thought was not as good, but also engaging. That one's called Son of a Witch. That's with a W.
Really?
Those were both just a treat. I had fun with it. It's a silly little introduction to this overly imagined L. Frank Baum Wizard of Oz universe, and it's just fun to see a little darker, twisted, more morally ambiguous version of an otherwise very simple good and bad story.
That's really fun to know that you listen to that kind of stuff. That's the cool thing about Audible is you can go get, and I sound like I'm slipping into like ad voice, but I'm not, because this is what I really think. I love the fact that you can just get a book and enjoy it for a short period of time while you're driving. That's time that would be wasted anyway. And you can reclaim it by putting cool stuff in your brain. I love it, dude. I really do.
I think of it as time shifting. Like,
yeah,
I'm flipping time from useless to useful, getting worse to getting better.
Yeah. So we've done books in the past here on the podcast. We're thinking about doing it again in the near future. We're trying to hone in on the book, the exact book we're going to select. But if you want to support the podcast, go to audible.com/NDQ. You can get a free trial, and it helps us out by providing for us financially, and you get smarter in the process. It's a win-win, Matt.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear what people are reading, and we really do need to get around to picking the next book.
It's time. I think it's time.
Audible.com/NDQ, and that gets you a free trial and free audiobook, right?
Yes, sir.
Rock and roll. Back to Star Wars?
Let's do it. Casino scene. Didn't care for it.
Good. We can be out of our fight. I also didn't care for it. What didn't you like about it?
I mean, it was a side quest. I do love the fact that they set up this huge side quest and got me emotionally invested about shutting down this tracker that can track us through light speed, blah, blah, blah. And I was really invested. And I was like, oh, man, it's always going to work out. They're going to find the tracker. And then it didn't. So I like that.
Well, I like that too. And I got to jump in there before I get the rest of your opinion on Casino. I like that because this whole movie keeps repeating the theme of the failure of the main characters. Luke.
What do you mean?
Luke fails to train Rey. Rey fails to turn Kylo. Kylo fails to turn Rey. The side quest fails to accomplish its purposes. They don't even find the right code breaker guy. They completely whiff on that. They end up with another guy. And because they find him, 9/10 of the transport ships get blown up and killed? Like, that guy was directly responsible for what went wrong there, and all of that death is colossal failure. And really, nothing works for anyone. Poe fails, gets a ton of other people killed, uses poor judgment, has an ill-advised mutiny. And so all of these characters, theoretically, should now be better and more interesting because we've allowed them to just blow it. And they're all
Luke even says that about the Jedi. Luke says the history of the Jedi is failure. He says at their highest point, they allowed what's his name? Darth whatever. Sidious to rise.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole thing. It's a redemption story, right?
Well, it's setting up for a redemption story because right now it just keeps getting worse through the course of this movie.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad Luke griped about that, by the way. He's absolutely right. The Jedi, some people try to argue like the Jedis were actually the bad guys. All right. Okay, cool. That's edgy. But no, the Jedi were actually just completely inept. That was their problem. They're just morons. And if you watch the Clone Wars that covers the stuff that happens between episode 2 and episode 3, which I think is some of the best Star Wars content out there, it's miserable to watch.
Did you just say the Jedi were morons?
Yes.
The Jedi were not morons. You're going to tell me Yoda's a moron?
Yes, he's an incompetent dolt. Like, he's wise and he figured some stuff out later, but when he needed to be smart, he's like, great evil there is somewhere very close. Could it be the creepy monster face guy who's always skulking about in the hallways saying creepy things about him getting more power and needing to control armies? Not probably me, thanks. Like, what? It's the monster. Look at him. It's that guy who's shrieking about having all the power. Just stab him and see what happens. But instead, they go through these elaborate, stupid
I can't tell if you're just putting on. I can't tell if you're trying to make this more interesting or you actually believe this.
No, that to me is one of the most maddening things about the whole Star Wars story is that incompetent collection of Jedi who are in charge in episodes 1 through 3. It's terrible.
Can we agree that Obi-Wan is the best Jedi ever?
I had that down as a question I was going to ask you. Obi-Wan, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably so.
But you can't just say you agree with me.
No, my debate is about whether or not I go outside the movies. We really like Ahsoka Tano. She's the girl Jedi who is Anakin's Padawan in the 9 seasons of Clone Wars and then comes up again in the new Star Wars Rebels series that's airing right now. I
haven't seen that.
She's a fun character. Yeah, your daughter would have fun with her, I think. And some people rag on her and stuff, but I think she's fun and principled, and she's just good. Always, always, always good. I like to have conflicted characters, but I like having a good guy now and then. He just wants to do the right thing, and she is that. So I think she's my favorite.
Speaking of a good female character, what about Rose? Because this is right before the casino scene is where we meet Rose. What do you think about her?
I like that she goes from fanboy to electrocution in about 10 seconds.
I thought that was pretty cool. So that tells you she's principled. She knows what's up.
She's hurting.
Yeah, she's hurting. And
she's not sexy. I love that the female characters in this movie, there's just no attempt to be like, check it out, they're hot. Like, hey, did something that you need to lean over and like grab something or pick some things up maybe real quick? No, there's none of that nonsense. It's just strong, competent girls being strong and competent.
Did you cry when they ran places and did strong things? That's one of your triggers, isn't it?
Listening to you kind of bring it up right now. It kind of changes where I'm at in terms of my mental state.
I was fine. I liked her character.
Crying in this one. I did too. But we agree the casino was dumb. There was no reason to go there. It worked itself out way too easily. Again, the droid solved all their problems. How many times are Rose and Finn dead if it's not for a soulless robot?
Yeah, it's pretty lazy writing. The thief guy, he was interesting, and I think we're going to see that character again because at the end he sold them out. They really
like
sold.
Lando.
You think?
Well, that's what Lando did in Episode 5.
He sold them out?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and then he comes around in Episode 6.
Okay, you're over me. I don't remember all this.
I'm sorry I did that to you.
The moment they sold me on this thief character is when he gave back the Hazian smelt to Rose after jumping or hot wiring the door or whatever.
That was a fun moment.
When he gave that back to her, I'm like, oh, wow, he must be good. And that was such a simple thing, but it totally worked on me.
I really liked the next thing he did, too, where they're like, we need it in there now. And he knew exactly how long it would take.
Yeah.
And then he nods and the thing opens. Like, that's stylish. That's fun.
Yeah, that was
Again,
pretty
way
good.
to move past the taped up glasses, nerd, weak friend for the computer guy. Like, let him be slick and stylish and smart and cool.
And the fact that that plan didn't work right there and they caught him, that was excellent. That was a big setup with a big payoff. I enjoyed it.
Well, there's a storytelling technique here that they're using in this that you don't see in blockbuster movies very often. And I don't know what the actual name of it is, but I call it a feint, like an F-E-I-N-T. It's where you put out a Chekhov's gun and then you never capitalize on it. Mm-hmm. Chekhov's gun, we've talked about that before, right?
Yes.
It's like the thing that you see, an object, and that's going to come into play later. So you see an X-Wing fighter sitting in the water, a lot like it was in Dagobah or in my aquarium here in my office that I'm looking at. And you're like, oh, well, obviously, there's Chekhov's gun. Luke is going to have a change of heart. He's going to reconnect with the Force. He's going to pull that thing out of the water, and magically all the engines will still work. And he'll fire it up, and he'll fly in and save everything. Nope. That Chekhov's gun is just going to keep hanging on the wall.
You know what I just realized? Your Dagobah aquarium could now be this island. What planet is this island on? Do we know?
Oh, I don't remember the name of the planet, but what a fantastic location.
So I'm going, it's got to be Iceland or something. I'm going to go find you. It's what?
It's Ireland.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So in your aquarium that looks like Dagobah now, I vote you change it to this Jedi island and we get you one of these boob milk monsters. So we put And we somehow rig it up so that you can milk it on command.
Yeah, well, that was a selling point. I wasn't with you until the I milk the monster thing. But now, gosh, that phrase alone is just very hard for me to utter. I don't, after this next time I say it, I'm never going to say I milk the monster again.
We have to figure that out. I've got to find that thing for you. If there's one piece of like fan swag I want, it's one of those monsters. Anyway, so
yeah, it's time. Did you like the guy who figured out that Finn and Rose put their beach or their craft on the beach? Did you like that guy in the white outfit?
You know exactly why I don't. They gave him a southern accent.
They did.
What was like, that? Are you really going to do that?
Well, now then their kids, they just parked
I
right
told
there
them it
on
was
that
a public beach, and they just went on to the casino.
That was my tobacco sound. Yeah.
I was like, you condescending, whatever. So we get through the casino scene, which wasn't a big fan of. I didn't like that it felt like it was from the 20s. I was like, come on, Star Wars, you're above this. But whatever.
And also, how did Maz have that flower? Like, she's in a firefight. She's like, hang on, I have a button on my phone that's that flower in case anybody ever calls and needs a code breaker. Here's that flower real quick. That's what it looks like. And then the guy who played Flower Hacker Man, that's a really good actor who they gave no meaningful lines to. That
really?
Guy, yeah, that guy is the lead character in The Leftovers, HBO series. He is a wildly talented actor.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's that dude who's so good at things. He was the bad guy in Girl on the Train as well. Oh, he's good. So I hope we get to see him do something in the next one. But whatever the case, it felt kind of hurried.
The horse things were cool. Did you like the horse things?
Why would you put them so close to your casino that they rumble out all of your expensive alcohol? Is that just to say these people are so rich that they just don't care?
I also thought about the fact that we race these things all the time, yet at any moment they could just jump over the fence and run straight through the walls.
Yeah, that did seem odd. I did feel like there was a little bit of the old cheap, take that, rich people. Like, this one will rally the base to like what we're doing. Like, I don't know. That seemed like, here's a flat, lame caricature. Like, I am not a rich person, but I know rich people. Some of them are scabby and obnoxious. Most of them are pretty nice and don't seem like they're horrible, and I don't want them to get trampled by bat-eared horses.
I also felt like this was the first moment in the movie where they started to get political.
Yeah.
Like passive-aggressive political.
Yeah.
There's only one thing in the galaxy that could make you this rich.
Yeah.
Weapons.
Oh,
and I thought,
I didn't even think about how that would rub you the wrong way.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, whoa. Dude, we're about to get into something here. I immediately got defensive because I was like, sure, yeah, have the guy who sells everybody out be a libertarian. That's great. Oh, it's about freedom. And he's the only person who used the word freedom in the whole movie. I don't know what the resistance is fighting for. If it's freedom, they're afraid to say it. But that guy with his dirty free market and his freedom and all of that, like, oh, that's what happens when there's too much of that dirty freedom.
He said, live free, don't join. That's what he said.
Yeah, and for me, I'm like, actually, I'm with that guy. Like, I wouldn't sell people out to get them murdered, but right up till that point, I'm with the live free, don't join guy.
I thought that was a pretty good live free, don't join. I was like, why have I never heard that? That's pretty good. By the way, did you hear that The Rock is considering running for president?
Yeah, no one knows what he thinks about anything, though, right?
They don't, but that's where we're at. We discussed this in several episodes back where it's all about brands now. But the one thing they said is, are you going to run Republican or Democrat? And he goes, right now, independent. And I was like,
what?
Please.
I smell what he is cooking.
I was like, please.
It is brisk and delicious and fresh.
So wouldn't that be amazing?
You know why I would vote for that guy?
Because he's an independent.
Well, yeah, there's that. But if you ran him in the last election, I would vote for him just because he's nice and knows how to make eye contact and respond to awkward situations or mean things other people say in a nice way. Like right now, my expectations are so low. I just want nice. Can we start with that?
It was interesting, but they're like, there's only, one thing in the galaxy that could make you this rich. Because I was like, no, I mean.
Like, what about space meth?
Some.
There's got to be great money in that.
Why did that break me just then? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It just bothered me because I was like, no. I mean, weapons exist because bad people exist and bad people want to do bad things to other people and you have to defend yourself and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I just need to stick to thinking about orbital mechanics.
Okay, let's do this thing, though. What do these two sides want? What is the First Order going for? What is their political philosophy that drives their action?
They want to control the galaxy. Power, obviously. Duh.
And so they just went around to different planets. We're like, hey, we're going to create a secret order that's going to control the galaxy. So if you want to sign up, it starts at like 30,000 per year, but we have huge bonuses. And you can go up to 50,000 per year if you get into officer school. Like, how do they recruit people for let's take over the universe? Kiss your wife and kids goodbye, tussle their hair, and now we're going to go murder squid people on other planets. And blow up entire planets, 5 freaking planets. We're just going to blow them up. But don't worry, you're going to get like $35,000 a year plus benefits. And you're going to stand there in a row in a helmet, and we're going to blow up 5 planets. How do you get anybody to sign up for that?
Obviously, they're supposed to sound like Nazis, right? And so
right.
This is a slow thing you have to build over an ideological transition in a person's mind. So there's a whole political saga that we're not privy to that was all about curing, we need the final solution for the galaxy, right?
Right.
I'm not allowed to say that, am I?
I think you're allowed to say that because they are supposed to be space Nazis.
That's exactly what they are.
That's how they dress. There's some Roman Empire overtones, but I think that's just simulacra because the Nazis tried to
Hey, what does that word mean?
Roman images. There's a French philosopher, a guy named Baudrillard. I think that's his term. He's a postmodernist, and it means a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy where remnants of the original are still present in modern manifestations.
Simulacra. Okay, got it. Like vestigial stuff only.
Or I could be completely wrong.
Okay, I'll go with that. You were telling me about slaughtering space squids?
Yeah. Let's get done with French postmodern philosophy and get back to the space squids. And so I get that they're supposed to be mean and bad, but every mean bad guy in all of history has a reason.
And he thought he was doing right for the most part. And
they always think the Nazis thought they were right, man.
Yeah.
That's what's so freaky about them. They thought that ethnic purge needed to happen. Everyone who ethnically purges thinks they're right. All the rest of us can look at it and be like, we're close to right. You're insane.
I think ultimately they're just bad guys, and we need bad guys because we're fighting a war. And we need to root for a good guy, and the good guy has to have a bad guy. At least in conflict. Like, for example, this podcast, everyone listening knows that I'm the good guy and you're the bad guy. Clearly.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely fine with that. I am a monster. Yeah, I can live with that. It's the role I play in most of my social circles.
No. You're doing the thing where you're doing the thing where you try to become the good guy and you make me the bad guy. You can't do that.
Oh, just a second. Let me try it again. Say I'm the bad guy.
You're the bad guy.
No, you're the bad guy, Destin. You're the bad guy. I don't accept that. I push back on you.
Speaking of which, did you ever feel like Kylo Ren? Did you ever feel sorry for him?
Yeah.
When Luke was, he thought Luke was going to kill him. That is an honest response.
That's what I would think. Luke completely crapped the bed. He's right. He did fail Ben. And he owes him more than a one-sentence apology in the form of a ghost. You wrecked that kid, man. You did blow it. That's why Kylo Ren is maybe not just the best bad guy in the Star Wars universe, but maybe the best character in the Star Wars universe.
Because he makes sense.
His motives make sense.
Yeah, yes. Like he killed Snoke the very first opportunity he had. Whereas Darth Vader would always like, ooh, Emperor, whatever, And he would, just for years, Vader would just do whatever he was told by the Emperor. Whereas Kylo was like, oh, sweet, I have an opportunity to cut this dude in half right now and take his throne. Dunsies. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that was so clever, by the way he masked his thoughts.
Yes.
Like everything Snoke is saying, yep, that's exactly what I'm thinking, man. Yep, now I do that. now. That was a cool moment.
It was good writing.
What are we at now? 2 out of 4 active Sith Lords get killed by being sliced directly in half with lightsabers. They need to regulate that. There's got to be some kind of safety commission they can put together to prevent that kind of thing from happening in the workplace.
I think it's lightsabers. They're another thing. When Rey and Kylo were sitting there playing Force Tug of War on a lightsaber, it was pointing at Kylo. I was like, flip the switch, Rey.
Yeah, but she doesn't want to kill him. She wants to turn him.
She could have lightsabered his eyeball.
Yeah, I sure liked it when she threw the lightsaber to Kylo Ren and he just brained that red Imperial Guard thing or whatever it was.
It was excellent.
Yeah, if you put helmets on them, they're not people, so I don't have to feel moral conflict over them being butchered in a kids movie. But back to the whole, what are their motives? So we have to just say, well, they're just generically evil. In the First Order, they just like power, I guess, or whatever. They're just evil. Fine. What is the Resistance fighting for?
Freedom.
What is their philosophy?
Well, they want a republic.
Freedom?
They want a republic. That's exactly what they want. They say, we want to restore the republic. How can we get from the spark to restore the republic? That's exactly what they want.
What are they going to do in the republic someday when somebody's like, we don't like the way you govern, it's oppressive, and we would like to leave? Do you think that their new republic would be like, okay, that's fine. Go ahead. You can have your own planet and your own tribe on the planet now.
Well, I get the impression that the rebels are all about opt-in, which I found the fact that when Rose tased Finn, I was like, oh, wow, he's deserting, so we're going to use force against him. So this isn't a, hey, we're in this together kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's interesting. You know, you can only rebel from those people. You can't rebel from us. That took me a little while to figure that out. I was like, that's interesting.
Philosophically, what you just referenced is the difference between ugly, yucky power mongering and I think getting it right. And that is voluntarism. Opt in. That would be the stroke of genius. Gather together and be a part of a coalition and a republic because we feel like it and because we have certain values about tolerance and appreciating differences and decency and not using violence or initiating violence against each other. I mean, those are why you want to have a coalition of the governed to get together and say, we consent to be governed because we think these values are good and we believe in these philosophies and we share these values and we'll do right by each other within them. Whereas I just don't see how the First Order would work. There are no values, but my disappointment is those values are all masked with the rebellion or the resistance or whatever we're calling it. I think it shifted partway through the show. They were afraid to give them virtues that they could just name and say, this is what we are and this is what we stand for. They just kind of let you read into it whatever you think is good.
We're against the bad. That's pretty much what they are. Yeah.
Yep. Question about Captain Phasma and that armor. Did you see the laser bounce off of it?
Oh, the chrome dome. Like when he says, take that chrome dome. I was like, no, come on, don't do that. Don't do that.
I didn't like that. That's the nickname that the G.I. Joe guys gave Destro. Chrome dome's already taken. You can't do that.
I did not enjoy that. But anyway, what's the name of that shiny Darth Vader in my... Who is it?
Brienne of Tarth.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, that's her. It's Gwendolyn Christie.
We just saw her eye. That's all we saw.
For a second, that's it. Yeah, otherwise she's in the metal and everything. Captain Phasma, that's the character's name. So question, why would you not make all of the Stormtroopers' armor out of whatever that metal is?
Because it was fantastiloid and you can only mine it on whatever planet. Yeah.
Sure.
Excellent point.
I just feel like the cost of training and mobilizing Stormtroopers is significant. And if you could just put impenetrable armor on all of them, I think over time the savings would be to your benefit. This is just an opinion.
Well, maybe it was just developed. This is the First Order. That's developmental armor. Duh.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Do you think she'll be back or is she immolated?
I thought the same thing when she went down. I was like, what indications do I have that she actually dies? Well, there's a flame, but she's wearing that armor. She's probably coming back.
I hope it turns out that when she's in the fire, she discovers that she has force powers and she gets all burned and mutilated and her voice changes from smoke inhalation. And then she's like, Snoke, that should be my name. And then she force projects herself back in time to become the supreme leader of the First Order.
I don't know why they've been developing that character, but they have been.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Whatever. Did you like Hoth or Salt Planet better?
I kind of like Salt Planet. Hoth is obviously better because you get to ride Tauntauns, but we're on Salt Planet now. We're behind the impenetrable door, and they bring out the battering ram cannon, and I'm thinking, wow.
Somewhat penetrable. Yeah.
Yeah, the fuel that they brought to bear to get that thing onto this nothing planet. Wow. It would probably be easier just to use that fuel against the door, whatever. So,
wow. See, I love that those are the things you think about. I'm sitting here the whole time wrestling with the motivations of all the people operating the cannon. Like, what's the matter with you people? There's like 15 people in there and some little like shiny silver foxes. Why would you want to melt that with a giant laser blaster? What is your philosophy of life?
They have to exterminate the rebel cause. They have exterminate is the word. They have to kill the rebel scum. Every time they said scum, I thought about Leonore's church. Poe gets into some fantastical vehicle, drives up, and he's going to save the day. And then he tries to call off Finn. That's an order, Finn. And Finn's like, no, I'm a rebel. I rebel. That's what I do. I'm like, this is getting old. And then I have to talk about this.
Go ahead.
Rose knocks Finn out of the way and proceeds to give one of the lamest death scenes I've ever seen. That actually
she's fine.
That's the point. It wasn't. I'm like, oh, she died. I cared about her. Oh, she's not dead.
She shook it off. She rubbed some dirt on it.
I was like, that's what just happened.
That whole sequence was so stupid. It was like they were trying to give meaning to two characters who have no reason to be there.
Yeah.
I liked this movie. And at the end of all of this, when I ask you, would you recommend it? I'm going to say, yeah, I would recommend it. This was a fun show. But these two characters just had no place, and it would have been better to just put them to the back of the line or let them fly around and shoot some stuff and whatever. First of all, how was Finn flying his little metal ski thing into that giant cannon going to blow it up? Why would you assume that would do it?
Because everything they make has a weak point. We've been over this, dummy.
Sure, you just fly it into the danger hole and then everything blows
danger
up.
hole?
Sure, great. Okay, I get it. So then she comes in at how fast was she traveling there? 60 miles an hour? 100 miles an hour?
Yet again, I was thinking, wow, so she took a much larger arc to get to the same distance. He's going in a direct line. Therefore, she had more speed. And so the closing, I did all that math.
The human skeleton, the human spine cannot survive an impact like that. And also, wait, is this laser causing the giant impenetrable metal door to glow? Is Finn flying in it right now? Why is he not molten? That whole sequence made no sense. And then here's what makes the least sense. How did he get her back in the door?
Oh, he pulled her in. He just pulled her in.
So just those AT-ATs just didn't notice.
Those weren't AT-ATs. Those were AT-M6s?
What? They have new names?
Those were AT Mega Cannon 6s, if I'm not mistaken.
With their like silverback gorilla front paws. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, exactly. They had that because they had a bigger cannon on their back and they needed to stabilize the cannon. Oh. But we're gonna continue to go with the long-legged, top-heavy design.
I don't get it.
That can transport 7 people.
Yeah. It looked really cool though when it like braced itself to shoot Luke Skywalker.
That was awesome. So I like the fact that Luke showed up. He had Han's fuzzy dice. I did like the fact that Luke was like, R2, I'm not going to, earlier in the movie, I'm not going to do this. You can't convince me. And he's like, oh yeah, well, how about this movie I showed you 1 billion years ago? And he's like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, that was effective.
I did like that. However, when he shows up, how about force projections are a thing now?
Yeah.
But he died immediately after. So is this like a one-time thing?
I didn't get that. Like he was so exhausted after that was all of his force juice.
Oh,
and now
I understood
it
exactly.
Force juice gets to 0.
I understood exactly what happened. That was, we can't afford to pay Mark Hamill for another movie, so we need him to die. I love the fact, my favorite part of the entire movie is when he's like, Kylo Ren's all emo, I want every gun we have to blow him up. And then
that's basically the line.
That was pretty much it. And then all the shooting. And then Hux is all, stop. that's enough. We only have so many laser blasts or whatever.
I guess, yeah.
I don't know what that was about. And then I don't know exactly what the exchange was. He goes, "Let me down there." He goes, "Sir, we have let's don't get distracted." And then he throws him into the wall.
Right away, sir.
Right away, so that 7 seconds was the best 7 seconds of the movie, with the exception of, the light speed kamikaze thing. That was excellent. Some people don't like the Matrix dodge of the lightsaber. They didn't like that. I thought it was good.
It was good. It made sense. It's what he had to do to keep the illusion alive a little longer.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good.
So then everybody gets out and everything's fine. Were you good with the resolution?
What do you mean?
I was just agitated by how happy everybody seemed to be at the end.
Happy to be alive?
I don't know. If 900 and some of your friends got killed in one afternoon, I think as soon as I was able to sort of sit in a chair and relax, my first response would be to weep uncontrollably.
I didn't think they were happy. I mean, Luke died. I did think it was interesting that Luke died with the sunset, the 2-sun sunset.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was
on Tatooine.
That's the way we met him, right? We met him in the desert when there were 2 suns, and just the fact that there were 2 suns, you're like, oh wow, there's 2 suns, and then this is the sunset on his life. I thought that was very well done.
Where does this one rank for you amongst the Star Wars films?
Well, the whole thing is below the Obi-Wan Anakin lightsaber duel, obviously.
Oh, dear. I don't know why we hang out.
It was on up there, man. I thought it was pretty good.
I've decided not to decide yet.
Why?
Star Wars movies aren't movies. There's something different. This is a myth unfolding before our eyes. The old school myths with Thor and all of that crowd, these things happened centuries before anybody heard about it, and the stories are passed down, and they're pretty much set in stone. Maybe you can goof with it a little. But this is our modern mythology. All of these characters mean something. Their values mean something. I mean, what you have Leia say affects morality and philosophy and ideology and society in the world. It's crazy, but it does. Star Wars informs things. You go to these movies, and it's not like going to another movie where some things happen and then it's over. It's nonsense that space wizards could have such implications, but it does. And I think that's why people get worked up, and there's so much gravity to it, and there's so much passion in the stuff that you read. So I don't think I'm going to decide where this one ranks for another month. I'm just going to sit on it.
I don't know that I'm with you on this, because this is just entertainment. Like, are you telling me if Chewbacca had eaten that little bird chicken gerbil thing? What are they called?
Porg. Like, if you want to name an alien, just go to Google and start typing it and see what comes up in the autocomplete, and then decide whether that name seems like a good idea. Go ahead.
Anyway, so you're telling me if Chewbacca had eaten that porg, then it would have affected how people view... Was that an animal rights statement? What was that about?
No, because that didn't matter. Like, that's obviously just a joke and a chance to market and sell stuffed animals.
By the way, when Chewbacca busts in the door and Luke says, "Where's Han?" I thought that was pretty cool.
That was a good moment.
That was a good moment.
I mean,
I disagree with you.
The values of the Jedi are somewhat derived from where society's at the moment a movie comes out, but they also somewhat inform how we think next. Because everybody sees it. It's shared story. Myth shapes people. And this is myth, and it shapes society.
Speaking of myth shaping people, the one moment we didn't talk about kind of applies here, where Luke walks up to the tree. He's going to burn down the Jedi traditions. He's going to burn down the books. And I thought about you. Like, these are manuscripts, texts.
I thought about that too.
We're going to burn these down. And I was like, man, this is the burning of the Library of Alexandria. I wonder what Matt's thinking when he's watching this. And then he walks up to it, and then Yoda like lightning bombs the whole thing and burns it. I thought that was great.
Yep.
He's like, not only do I agree with you, I'm going to make sure it goes down correctly. But we later found out that I guess it was Rey that took the texts out and put them in the Millennium Falcon, right? We said that.
Yeah, and further, they're using Yoda there to, like the one character who has the credibility to say to all the fans, stuff's changing, folks. Sometimes you got to burn it down. That was a message to us.
He said two things. I wrote them down because I thought they were good. One, he says, failure is the best teacher.
Yep, rock solid. And I think I know what the other one is, but go ahead.
No, you tell me. Go.
Because I just know that this is the kind of thing that you would care about. No, you should get to say it because it's good.
I don't think we're going to say the same thing. Go ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
The other thing he said was, we are what they grow beyond.
Exactly. Yeah. That is the true burden of all masters. We are what they grow beyond. That is the true burden of all masters. I want my children to be better than me. Okay, you were right. Yeah. Failure is the best teacher, and we are what they grow beyond. And so
I knew that line was going to resonate with you. You think about that a lot.
what do you mean?
There are different ways that different people I know think about their kids, but you think about your kids in that category. You're throwing a lot of energy at setting them up to do great things, to be redemptive, to be principled, to be good. And I genuinely believe you when you say that you want them to be better than you.
Yeah, I do. So in the end, I think this is ultimately a story about redemption and about making those that we're trying to invest in be better than us. And space wizards.
And space wizards. And green monster milk. I'm almost with you. I feel like this is a story about failure and what to do with it, and just being able to see the glimpse of redemptive hope at the other end of your failure.
I don't think it's as important as you think it is.
No. I think it accidentally does get important, and I think people certainly feel really passionate about this. Sometimes I do too, which always makes me feel silly. But just as a person walking out of the theater, how did you feel after you got done with this movie?
The first time, I was like, wow, I have to drive to Tuscaloosa tomorrow because my brother's graduating, and I just stayed up till 3 a.m. and I have to get up
That's a powerful
at 6.
message.
And then I walked to the truck, and somebody had thrown up right in front of my door.
Yeah, you snapped me that. Thank you.
I was like, what is this?
I don't know if that was barf, man. That something was really wrong with that fluid.
I think it was monster milk.
Wow, now you mention it.
But anyway, I thought walking out of the theater, I was like, man, that was pretty cool. I went with my buddy Jared and his brother Travis. I was like, that was fun. We got to see struggle, and the good guys are still alive. I enjoyed it. What was your favorite moment?
Lightspeed kamikaze.
Second favorite moment?
Probably Yoda and Luke talking about
same here.
failure and philosophy.
I enjoyed that.
What was your least favorite moment?
My least favorite moment, I thought Rose's death was dumb. I was most uncomfortable when Snoke was holding Rey.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was about more than the movie.
Yeah.
I thought that was a huge statement, and I felt most uncomfortable at that moment, which is good. I mean,
don't
it's
need
good
that in my Star Wars. I'd just rather not.
Yeah, it seems like Disney's moving towards making, grand sweeping, like let's influence society things, because they do get it.
But the problem with that is that, I don't know. I don't want to get into it all. I feel like the one thing that I felt negatively walking out of this was hollow. I feel like you got good and you got bad, but I have no idea why. Like, bad is bad because they do bad things and they dress bad, I guess. But why are they bad? I don't know. And good is good because they're trying to stop the bad and they look nicer and less like monsters, I guess. I just wish there was a little bit more on why good is good. Is there some good that we can still agree on, that no matter what you're into, you're like, this is pretty much, though, this is right over here. We should do this. It seems like this movie and the hollowness I felt after it is a reflection of that division that's always floating around out there, where we can't even agree on good enough to actually define it. We have to let it be nebulous so people can fill in the blanks in their own brain and make the rebellion their cause. Instead of just being like, treating people well and not murder and freedom, these are good things.
Yeah, we can't really say that these days.
That's a pity. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, same here.
I give it 4 monster nipples out of 4.
Dang it, you took mine. Shoot, now I have to think of another one. I give it 4 disemboweled porg carcasses out of 7.
Okay, I can live with that.
Okay, it might go up or down. I just wanted to say disemboweled porg carcass. I've got basketball starting in 4 minutes on the other end of the building, so I got to go, buddy. What do we need to say on the way out the door here?
I think we can point people to the subreddit, and we just need to thank all the patrons because they're really helping us out, and it's a really big deal.
And we have good people who help us, and we need to pay them. So thank you, patrons, for taking care of the people who take care of us.
That's awesome. Hey, do good on your jump shot tonight.
Thanks, bank shot, man. That's where it's at. Just hit that corner. Old man Tim Duncan style basketball.
There you go, man. All right, man. I enjoyed it. Have a good one, dude.
Yeah, see you, buddy.